I come up with the cold open all the time, but do you think I could come up with a better way to start the show?
That's the way you should start it, just like that. I like it.
I'm going to start it like that all the time then.
Use that one. Love it. Morning, bud.
How's it going?
I'm fantastic, man.
Nice.
It's kind of funny though, because every day I come in, I make myself a nice cup of coffee. I grind my own beans and everything. But this morning I was feeling a friggin' black McCafe from McDonald's for like $1.70 or something. So,
yuck.
Kicking it old school with a cheap, crappy coffee, but I don't know. Kind of good.
Kicking it old school. Hey, last night, no word of a lie, my daughter, we were talking about when she got COVID because she's trying to figure out where she got it. And I said, it's probably from sucking face with somebody at school.
Oh my God. I thought you were going to say something else to your daughter. Jesus, he's too young, Darryl.
And she says, why would I suck someone's face? And I'm like, no, it's a term. Like sucking face means kissing. She's like, I've never heard that. And my son's like, yeah, I'd never heard that. And then I'm like, I said, you guys are out of touch. And they're like, no. And then they said, you say stuff that we've never even heard of before.
Because you're old.
Yeah, I guess I'm old. And then we started to talk about what words. And I said, I'm going to run a bunch by you and tell me if kids still use them. And I was getting denied all day, like the bomb. You're the bomb. No, kids don't use that. You be tripping? Nope.
Oh my
as
God,
if.
nobody uses that anymore.
Nobody says as if anymore. Remember that? That was big
As
in the
if.
80s. As if. My bad. Talk to the hand. And then my wife jumped in. She's a teacher, and she was telling me about kids in her class as a little prank or joke or whatever. They smack the back of each other's necks. And she said to the one kid, she's like, what are you doing? He's like, we're just necking. She's like, no.
That is
No,
the
you're not.
dumbest thing ever. That's so stupid.
And then when she told them what necking meant in our world, she's like, I never heard the term again.
Oh my God. That's stupid.
So I think we're getting old because...
oh, we are old, one.
Yeah, there's no other way around it, but the terms that we use are disappearing.
Well, hey, there's no time like the present, man. Might as well get this podcast started before we get any older.
That'd be gnarly. This is Taming the Hustle.
Or something of the sorts.
Everybody wants a piece of me. I'm a lonesome man making history. They say we're all just raindrops in a stream.
Can you believe we had Mike Doyle from OK Otter on here last episode?
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
That
I'm
was
going to
pretty
try
sweet.
not to be too jealous that you guys like threw my financial planning topic out the window, but
I'm sorry.
it was worth it. It was worth it. He's actually a really cool dude.
He was, but I'll tell you what, I'll make it up to you today.
He still is. He's
I
not
guess,
dead.
he didn't die.
What? He was only cool for our episode? Like, come on.
That's we have a coolness factor on here. If you're on the show, you get bumped up. You used to be a 7, now you're a 10.
Yeah.
But listen, I'm going to make it up to you, and I'm going to let you go first today.
Well, hey, listen, I hope that you have something a little bit more entertaining and a little bit more interesting than mine. So let's get my boring stuff out of the way, but it's actually really important. It's what we call asset location.
Asset location. Sounds like a James Bond thing. Don't you think?
My name's Boudreaux. René Boudreaux.
Love it.
Well, actually, it's a little bit James Bondish. It's often overlooked when going through the planning process, mostly on the investment side, actually. It's tax planning strategy. So without getting into too much of the weeds, I just wanted to go through a couple of really important things in terms of taxation. So when you have an investment, you essentially have 3 types of income that's going to be taxed. You have interest income. So that's like earned income, like a T4, where if you earn $1,000 in the year, you have $1,000 that's added to your tax return. Then you have the most tax preferred type of investment income, which is a capital gain. So let's say...
Oh, we've talked about that.
Yeah. So you buy a stock and you make $1,000 with the growth of that stock and you sell it. So then you actually trigger that gain. So that gain of $1,000, you only have to declare 50% of that.
Nice.
Based on current Canadian tax rules. So you only have to declare $500 of that. So you're paying half of the tax on a capital gain as opposed to interest income.
Yeah.
And then there's a dividend. So let's say you receive a dividend from your own private corporation. You receive a dividend from, say, an RBC stock that you own that pays a regular dividend. Then there's a gross up and a dividend tax credit. So it's like kind of like the in-between. You're not paying full PIN on the interest, but you're not getting that 50% tax rule as a capital gain. So having said that, so now you have 3 ways that you can pay tax on different types of investment income. As a Canadian, if you're earning this personally, you have a graduated tax rate. So you're going to pay about 20% tax, let's say if you're earning $40,000, but if you're earning $250,000 a year, your highest tax rate is going to be 53.53%. So what we want to do is try to optimize where we're going to actually invest that interest income, capital gains, or dividend, where we can actually position it to pay the least amount of tax.
To kind of make it work for you.
Yeah, it's kind of like a puzzle, actually. So what we try to do is puzzle your investments where you're going to pay the least amount of tax.
Yeah.
Just a quick scenario is you have a client that is like a balanced investor where we want to have 60% of their investments in equities, which is the stock market essentially, and then 40% in fixed income, which would be cash and bonds for the most part. Well, what we would try to do then is have the bond component or the fixed income component be invested in, say, your RSP or your TFSA, because then the RSP is taxed when you pull it out no matter what, like it was T4 income, and your TFSA is never taxed. Whereas we would try to position your non-registered investments, hold the equity portion so that when you have to pay tax on that, you pay tax at a rate of 50%.
Gotcha.
Same as your dividends. And furthermore, so if you have some investments in your holding company, for example, that's considered passive income. So you're paying the highest marginal tax rate on the first dollar earned. So if you're a balanced investor and you have corporate investments and you have personal investments, then we try to position your asset location so that you have your non-registered in your corporation own the equity portion to try to have as much capital gains tax as possible so that we're only paying half of that highest marginal tax rate, which is as high as 54%.
Crazy.
Right? So instead of paying 54%, you'll pay 27% tax on that investment and then have the interest earned personally in your RSP or your TFSA. Told you, boring, right?
Sorry, what? I'm still here. No, just kidding. I'm listening. I'm in. This is a James Bond movie. Every James Bond movie is kind of slow getting into it. And then once you're into it, you're good.
It's so boring, but we have to talk about it because it's so impactful. So it's a bit complicated and it's also a little bit difficult to have the client sort of comprehend it at times. So a lot of the advisors don't even bother having those conversations. They'll say, okay, the client is a balanced investor. So in the RSP, we're going to do 60-40 split and have, 60% in equities in the RSP. And then we're going to do the same balanced portfolio that we've created for the client in the TFSA, same thing in the non-registered held personally, and then the same balance that's held in the corporation. But really, if you have $1 million of assets, right?
Which I do, clearly.
And you have, minimum. And you have $300,000 in your corporation, you should have your corporate investment portfolio have 100% equity to try to be as tax efficient as possible. And then we put the other 100,000 in either your RSP, your personal open, your TFSA, and then all of your fixed income in your personal registered assets, where they're either going to be taxed 100% in the RSP anyway, or not taxed at all in the TFSA. So this is a conversation you really should have with your financial planner to say, okay, maybe I don't fully comprehend what this asset location strategy is, but I want to talk about it because it's really important to implement this, because this could save you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime.
So what do I do with the $500,000 I got in my pocket right now?
Cocaine and hookers, man.
That's what I figured. That's what if it was a James Bond movie.
Get your tux. Let's go to the casino.
Well, see, it's funny because I made the joke about James Bond, and then you talk about bonds a little while ago, and that perked me right back up because I was like, see, I know it's James Bond.
Oh my God, what's this guy fucking rambling about again?
It's no big whoop.
Yeah, asset location. You feel me?
You be tripping, brother.
Groovy. That's dope.
No, but you're right. It is an important conversation to have. And I honestly, it wasn't until we've talked about it that I ever heard of it. And then I've had conversations with friends of mine who are business owners as well. And I brought this up. I'm just like, have you ever heard of asset location? And they've done the same thing. They're like, oh, like you mean like a hitman?
What?
And I'm like, no, not like James Bond. Literally with your investments. And they're like, never heard of it.
It's so important.
No kidding.
That's a really, really like high level Coles Note version of asset location, but it is a conversation you must have with your financial planner, your investment advisor, whoever's looking after your stuff. And if you're a do-it-yourselfer, I would do some research and get get to understand this stuff because it's very, very important, as dry as it is.
Renee will never say this, so I will. Don't do it yourself.
Well, Sex with Emily says that you should, but when it comes to your
Once a day.
finances, probably not a good idea.
And you can't go blind no matter how much you do it.
No, that's right. We're talking about sex now, not financial planning. If you do financial planning yourself, you'll go blind.
That's right. So I said you shouldn't do it yourself, but listen, when we come back, I want to talk about people who do marketing themselves and when you should outsource to someone else.
Yeah, good point. Look forward to it.
We'll be right back.
You wouldn't discuss your personal life with a stranger. So why are you trusting the ever-changing bank advisor?
Learn how a certified financial planner gets to know you and your finances personally. #call René of St. Cyr and Associates.
Welcome back.
I'm still here too.
Oh, I thought you fell asleep from your own topic.
Oh my God. Imagine. Well, hey, listen, just picture me sitting at my desk trying to figure out the proper asset location for your portfolio.
No
Jesus,
kidding.
there's fucking drool all over your papers. There's just my calculator stops working because of the drool. Got coffee. I don't even smoke. There's like a pile of cigarette butts in an old glass ashtray. Just trying to stay awake, figuring out this asset location for you.
It's funny.
Like it has to be done, but man, it's boring. Well, that's why I get paid, I guess.
Well, here, let me raise some spirits here and talk about outsourcing your marketing.
Nice.
But seriously, though, outsourcing is a big decision. And I talk with clients about this all the time. And when I'm consulting, one of the things that always gets brought up in the first meeting is simply, when was the right time? Like, did I wait too long to outsource, or am I doing it right at the right time?
There's also a fear too, like that it's going to break the bank, right? So I think often
100%.
people shit the bed by waiting too long
Yeah.
because of that fear, rather than just inquiring with someone like you to say, listen, this is what I'm looking at doing. How do we make it happen?
Well, and that's the thing. There's three big factors, right? The first you mentioned is the financial. It's like, can I afford to do this? The way I look at it is, if you own a business, you can't afford not to do it.
Wow, you took the words right out of my mouth. Because I was going to say, like, from experience, you can't afford not to. It's a game changer, man. You need some help in that. Unless you're an expert,
Yeah.
you need some help in that field. It's like doing it yourself for financial planning, like we said a couple minutes ago. You have to bite the bullet and you have to take that leap because you can't afford not to. I 100% agree as a non-marketing expert, but as a business owner.
And if you don't have the means to hire somebody full time, people generally use that as an excuse, right? It's like,
Yeah.
well, it's the budget. I can't afford it. So it comes down to skill set when you think about your budget. It's like, if you can't do it and you're just going to try to continue to do your marketing on your own, and you're like, I'm not spending that penny. I'm going to pinch it until it turns into a diamond, I guess. You're not going to get anywhere. With our agency, we have different levels, right? We have the full service marketing where we do the bumper to bumper. We have the middle ground where people hire us, or companies will hire us to do just the spillover, right? And then we do the consulting end of things where it's just, we have conversations, we give ideas. Like, we've worked with a $600 million company that literally hired us just for ideas. They have a full marketing team. And when I tell people that, they're like, well, why didn't their marketing team come up with it? Because not everybody has the greatest ideas. And we do the same thing. Our agency outsources as well. And it only makes sense to do it because the more brain power on a project, the better it's going to be. And I preach this. I preach this to you and to every client, is that it could be your mom, it could be your wife, it could be your kid. You're going to tell them your idea. They're going to say something back, and it might not be great, but it's going to spark something.
There's a certain artistic factor to the creative process, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that your own marketing team sucks because
No,
they can't come up
not
with the
at all.
idea. But sometimes you need to think outside the box, and thinking outside the box is sometimes outsourcing, right? So that
Exactly.
you can expand your ideas, right?
Yep.
Your bank of ideas will be expanded by bringing someone else on and have a different perspective, or maybe an outside perspective looking in to say, okay, have you guys thought of this angle?
Yeah.
Right. And trying to spin your wheels doing this shit yourself, man. It's like me trying to do my own IT. I remember in the earlier days, and I'm like, I'm troubleshooting something with fucking Microsoft or whatever. And it's like, are you kidding me? I just wasted 3 hours of my day and I'm busy as old hell. And I'm like, I hate my life right now. I'd go home at lunchtime. It's like, oh my God, I just can't wait for this troubleshooting to be over. It's like at some point, make the decision that you need to hand this off to someone that knows their shit, that's going to do it in a fraction of the time and is going to do it 1,000 times better. Like, you're my bumper to bumper guy, and I wouldn't change a thing about it because now I don't even have to think about it. I just focus on my business.
Exactly.
And there is a money factor involved, but like you say, the return on investment, you have to find that tangible because to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, with social media, with the way that we do business now, it's significantly different. That marketing is, I think, an absolute must in your business plan.
Definitely. And you said it a minute ago about time constraints. And that's a big factor, right? If you're going to spend hours and hours on your own marketing, doing it yourself, what happens to the rest of your business? What are you putting off to the side, right? What are you doing to your customers or your clients by doing your own marketing?
Yeah.
So I remember when we first started working together, we were just doing your radio ads at the time, but one of your competitors, we kind of heard through the grapevine, was telling other people that don't go to René because he's too busy doing radio ads to do your portfolio.
Yeah, that was classic. Oh my God. Yeah, the power of marketing. But, they had this misconception that all I was doing was working on radio ads. I was sitting at CJKL there just recording all day long and forgetting about my clients.
Which is funny, right? And so that's a big factor. And you mentioned like social media, and that is a huge thing because you have to stay on top of technology. And businesses will hire a marketing manager, a social media manager, which is great. But at the same time, you're putting a huge heavy load on that one person to create not only great content, which is time consuming to do, but they also have to work on strategy. They have to come up with new ideas, right? All those factors for one person is just too much. And so if you're a small business, you're like, well, I hired a marketing manager. I don't need to do anything else. Well, that poor marketing manager is trying to come up with the greatest stuff for you and can only do so much. So like, for example, with us, you know this, and I bitch about it to you almost daily, is how much we work on trying to figure out the algorithms of Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff.
Kidding. Yeah, you do bitch about it a lot.
Yeah, and we're just trying to get it right,
But when you start to get into the friggin' details about it, I can understand why. And I'm happy you're doing it for me because I wouldn't.
And that's the thing, we do it daily. So think of that one marketing manager working for a small business or a business owner who's just doing it themselves. You're going to go against the algorithm of Facebook and you're going to crack that code while running your business, while doing your books, while being customer service to your clients or customers. You're going to do all that plus come up with a great marketing plan at the same time? I don't think so.
Hey, I felt like a genius the other night. I was at a dinner party. So there was someone who's got a small business and they were posting something on Instagram, and their relative with the same last name was like, hey, you got to make sure you like my posts, to help the algorithm out. I'm like, if you listen to our podcast,
That's
know
right.
what the fuck you're doing.
It's all about the algorithm. I hate it. Boy,
Yeah.
if I could infiltrate, if I could be an asset location against Facebook.
You'd put that shit in the right place.
That's right.
We managed to put two super boring topics together and make it somewhat funny and interesting. I love it.
We try. That it's because we outsource this.
Oh yeah.
I hired somebody
right.
to do this whole podcast for us. It's not really us. It's just somebody else.
Yeah, Ryan told me what to say.
That's right. But listen, if you only take one thing away from today, it should be this, and it's to start small. If you are worried about your marketing, maybe start with a consultant, maybe start with a small retainer, or maybe it's an agency creating one thing a month for you or once a week or posting once a month or once a week. But don't break your own bank to get out of the gate, but you're going to have to do it. If you want to be successful, if you want to get ahead of the game, you have to do it. It's simple as that. So listen, we're going to get to an ad that you outsourced to us.
Yeah. Well, actually, before we do that, though, that's worth mentioning. Going back to the comment was, René's too busy doing radio ads to look after his clients. The reason we outsource was so that you can come up with really great radio ads, which you changed our brand entirely so that I can focus solely on my clients. right? So outsourcing gained a lot of time in my life to be able to give back even more to my clientele and not have to worry about my marketing strategy. So even
Exactly.
though there's this conception that, Renee, hashtag call Renee, you've done such a great job with marketing. I hear this lots. Oh, you do such a great job with your marketing. I'm like, the fuck, that's not me, man. That's that's Hepburn Productions. I look after my clients. I'm more happy to hear, man, you took really good care of my portfolio, or you created a really great financial plan. And I'm really appreciative that you look after my family when my grandma died, But anyway, the marketing piece has been outsourced. It's been handed over to you, bumper to bumper, like we mentioned earlier. The proof is really in the pudding. And that's a great example of, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet. You have to outsource, and you have to have faith in the people you're working with that are going to bring value to the table. So.
Exactly. So listen, let's get to the ad. And while we do that, because we did your ad, you could do some more asset location.
Can I outsource that? So boring. So important. Let's Google outsourcing asset location strategies. We'll be right back.
If I was really Matthew McConaughey, I would tell you in the smoothest voice that when it comes to your future, it pays to use a certified financial planner.
Live well today while planning to live well tomorrow with St. Cyr and Associates.
Hashtag call Renee. All right, all right, all right.
All right. Well, that was an outsourced ad that you just heard.
Oh, so awesome, though.
So, hey, I want to talk about, you ever notice I say hey a lot? We should talk about that. I say hey and
You don't say anymore. You replaced it with hey.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Hey,
I don't do the hey guys. That's safe for women on Instagram and TikTok. Hey guys.
I'm glad you're not adding on to all the words that you use very regularly. Yeah. Hey,
Great. Now it's in the bank.
Yeah. And then next week you're using great a lot, and you're like, hey, great, And I was like, holy fuck, this guy reuses his words a lot, man. Like, it's getting really monotonous to have conversations with him.
Speaking of great, that's what I want to talk about today.
Okay, let's have a great conversation about
Let's have a great conversation. I want to talk about doing something meaningful each day, because this is a practice I've taken on from a young age of trying to make the day better for not only myself, but for everyone.
Cool.
Yeah. And so, like, what is something you do daily or regularly that makes a difference in the day, whether it's for you or somebody else?
Well, we've talked about this before, and the first thing that comes to mind is selflessness.
Yeah.
I know it sounds cheesy and corny and whatever, maybe cliche, but honestly, nothing makes me feel better than being selfless. And for
Same.
selfish people, I think you should give it a try, because you know what? Like, how often are you thinking of someone, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I wonder how they're doing. You could tell someone's going through a divorce, or, some of my friends are dealing with some of their kids going through divorces, and, they're saddened because of what their grandkids are going through. Or, there's so much illness out there, right?
Yeah.
People battling cancer, and they beat it, but it doesn't mean that they're not okay.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that they're okay.
Yeah.
There's people that lose their jobs, like I deal with all sorts of scenarios. So
No kidding.
whether they're friends or family members or clients, like it'll often happen on a Saturday morning where I'm like, hey, how are you? Haven't heard from you in a while, and I think that act of selflessness of just reaching out to people, and you got to be genuine about it, because if you're just
100%.
doing it to make yourself feel good, then fucking don't do it. But if you genuinely care about people,
Yeah.
you know what? That makes my day better.
100%.
Whether I do it as I wake up and have my morning coffee and I check into someone to have them start their day on the right foot, or I check in with someone at the end of the day and say, how was your day?
Yeah.
That to me, that act of selflessness gives me purpose. It gives me joy, and it gives me a great
Nice.
sense of fulfillment. And it stays, helps me stay connected with people, which is what we fucking thrive for as humans anyway.
100%. Like, I do pretty much the same thing. We grew up together pretty much throughout our teen years. And I think we're
still growing up together.
We're still growing up
Let's be
together and
real.
out. I'm growing out. You're growing up.
Yeah, that's right. And we're getting very mature.
Yes, very, very. Hey guys. No. But I do the same thing. Like, so I want to pull the curtain back a little bit and talk about when I was a child. So early on, when I was really, really young, my parents had an ugly divorce, and my mom, who had full custody of us, was only working part-time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough. It was a struggle. There wasn't much money coming in. I remember even at Christmas time, the priest stopped by every now and then just with food from the food bank for us. And I try to do this at the grocery store, whether it's the $10 pre-bag groceries that you can put in the donation bin or donating to whatever cause.
Yeah, the pay it forward.
Yeah, it's like, because I was in that situation. And so I do that a lot. And it's something that in my mind, I know somebody on the other end is sitting there smiling because they actually got to eat. I don't care. They don't know who I am. And I prefer it that way. I just like to know that somebody is going to get a meal.
And even if they're not smiling, at least they're getting fed. Right.
Exactly. And not just donations, I try to make things better, whether it's singing a silly song to my kids or making their favorite meal or even talking to a stranger at the grocery store just to make their day.
I've heard you sing silly songs to your kids while staying at your place. That didn't fucking make my day any better, I'll tell you that.
You didn't poop better? I tried to sing the poop song for you.
Yeah. Speaking of maturing together.
But it could just be as simple as, talking to a stranger in the grocery store, just trying to make their day.
And I see that shine through in you. That's awesome.
But one thing that I really don't like about people who do meaningful things is when you try to use it as social media fame.
Yeah.
That irks me. I can't stand seeing a video where someone's going to give a homeless person a sandwich and then they turn the camera back on themselves like they're the better person, but they're just trying to do it to get likes and to get views. And I'm like, how about just doing it? Turn your camera off. Give them the sandwich.
Do it silently. That's the best way. And actually, I feel best about it when no one knows that it's
exactly
me.
100%.
Except you just told everyone that you do that, Darryl.
I did. That's awkward. Well, I was just trying to tell people to be better, and oh no, this is full circle.
Backfired on you.
Ah, damn it! Don't click like on this part of the podcast.
Yeah, the world is filled with good intentions, and that was one of them.
It was a good intention that turned out bad, but seriously, I wasn't doing a "Hey guys, I'm giving somebody a sandwich."
No, I get where you're coming from. I'm just chirping you, bud.
I know. But listen, I challenge everyone to do something meaningful today, tomorrow, and keep it going. It doesn't have to be big. And here comes my cheesy line of the day, is I just want to make the world a better place. And I think if we all do something a little bit like that, it could make it so much better.
It doesn't even have to be monetary, like you say.
No.
To feel noticed, because some people just seem to like go through life unnoticed.
Yeah.
Right. And that's got to be a shitty feeling, man. If humans as a whole would just be nicer to each other, the world would be a whole lot better place. So
and you don't even have to do it in person. I do it on social media all the time. I'll go through and I see a story and I'll actually message them and I'll be like, hey, how are things now? Are you guys doing all right? And they're total strangers and I don't give a shit. And I'm sure when they get the message, they're like, who's this crazy guy?
But on the flip side, though, for people who do that in front of everyone, like if you PM someone and that's private message, with acronyms, I'm getting really good at that shit.
Acronyms.
But if you message someone directly and you're like, you having a better day, like I've been there, it's gonna be fine. But if you start writing that shit on
in the comments,
post in the comments, I'm like, keep that shit to yourself, man. No one wants to hear that.
Exactly. I always private message with me.
Oh, that's so awful.
Yeah.
That's the same thing as trying to turn your camera on yourself after and just trying to make yourself seem like you're 100%. So nice and caring. It's like, fuck, people see right through that bullshit.
I know. But listen, this was a great episode. It was educational. There was a little bit of snoozing going on, but that's okay.
Sorry about that. That's my fault. My bad.
No, hey, it's important. That's the thing. If you're snoozing, that asset's going to take you out.
Yep. Yeah. And it's going to cost you money. I promise you. So please do something about it. Take action. Be nice to people. Take care of your asset location and be prepared to outsource your marketing.
That's right. What a great day.
It's a great day for a great day.
We'll see you guys next time.
Arrivederci. TTFN. Love acronyms. Ciao.